we had executive session, came out of executive session, so we're already rolling here, so I'll be after 7. And the first thing we have is an A&R for South Street. And this is... Are you doing this, or you just getting up and stretching? You did this? I didn't know you did, then I would've looked at it. I know, you were in Italy. All right, we have, this is for Howard Engineering. I'm finally gonna split it up between Howard and the new
Solar.
solar green stuff. All right. Now, we do have, it's, let me go through here. Robbie Roy, what's the zoning here? Oh, it's industrial, okay, 40,200 foot minimum. And you had it on here, I know Kyle said this before, so that's why you had the 200 feet, the existing is the 200 feet, 40,000 square feet. So you have frontage on South Street, and you have the required lot. Anything else you wanna add? No?
I just would ask if the plan you're looking at with the, is that the one I spoke with him about? Yes, okay.
Spoke with who?
I went over with Kyle and made some changes from the one that was submitted, that's all.
Could we see, Jack? Do you have extra copies, or you want, what, you want the old ones?
Kyle,
Yes.
you said you make some changes to this A&R?
Yes, I did,
Okay,
and they've been completed.
anything big?
No,
Just make it
no.
compliant?
Briefly, the zoning circle was added to it. There was clarification of the frontage at both, along the street line and the setback line. The endorsement block was moved, and there was a modification to one of the notes on the plans regarding what land court lot was being subdivided.
All right, anybody have any questions? Board?
There's something about the, impervious.
Yeah, there's the existing building and then there's parking out front, but it doesn't even come close. It's a 4-acre lot.
So that's in relation to the WRPOD. It's right in the recharge area, and of course you're aware there's a 15% maximum for the impervious area.
And so, it's not on the plan, but it's nowhere close to 50.
It is not on the plan, but that dialogue went along between myself and Mr. Truax, and
Yeah, we checked it, it's not close.
What about
And
the
most likely,
lot
someone's
in
gonna
lot
do
6?
something with that building, and you're gonna see them. They're probably gonna expand the
No,
impervious.
it's
and
lower left side.
do
So the
some
solar
parking around
field
that.
is behind.
Yeah, I think they have someone interested in that building. That's why we're doing it now, we're separating the solar field, so something's probably gonna happen there for some work, and it's gonna come back before you. They'll probably expand the impervious, and they'll probably need a permit.
Okay.
We can't act, it's an A&R, you gotta go through with it, and you always have to say it's a non-buildable lot, but I've always argued this with our lawyers, and they never tell me how we can get around this, is you could create a non-conforming lot if that had too much impervious. I have to sign the A&R, then what happens? Nobody's ever told me that. What? But what's he do? He tells them tear the building down? They won't do anything.
No, it's a tough area, right?
No, I just don't like when you, one thing is vacant land, but it's another thing if it's existing's on it, so. But anyway, I'll make a motion to endorse.
Second.
Okay. All right, for plan of land, lot, subdivision lot 6 shown on land court plan 29416D.
Okay.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, okay. You get it. Those-
Do you wanna keep that?
No,
or-
I'm just gonna sign one.
You can give it
Sign
back,
one.
that's fine.
Carl, what's that D on that?
Enough paper.
What's
Yeah,
that?
no.
Like it's a D power, like to the second power.
The D is a reference to what the land court plan case is 29416. The A plan's the first plan, the B is the second, C is, and that's the D. So they're subdividing the D plan. The one that'll be decreed will be an E plan.
Okay, next point is why is it up in the air, like, we're going to the second power, third power, square.
Because, so the land court is very precise on how they do it, and said, once you subdivide, it becomes a new plan.
So it's just the
Why
way
don't they go
like it
dash
labeled.
D rather than D up here?
It's just the way they want it labeled, land court.
Just asking.
Yeah, that's their labeling.
Alright. Now being after 7:05, we have another A and R. I wonder if this one's right. You draw this one? Florida? Alright. We have an A and R in front of us for GLM Engineering, and where they're taking land off of lot 1R and creating parcel B, and land off of 2R and creating parcel A. I think what we've seen before is they have the 200-foot frontage for lots 2R and 1R, so they didn't reduce any of that, and they both have the requirements that they have, what's it, RB? Oh, no, it's rural, so they still got the 40,000, so they're all set there. And over here, we have parcels A and B. I guess that's it, the question, okay. Does this ever get combined with the one way over to the right?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Oh, look at the plan, the right side. You got two parcels, you have one on Wall Street North, now and former.
Oh, the one way out back, like?
Yeah, yeah.
No, they're not combined.
Alright, so that's just staying there?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Carl, any items for this?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there were some comments on this as well. We asked that the planning board endorsement block be moved to the lower right as for all planning board signatures. Some notes were clarified on the assessor's reference and deed reference, the owner's of record, to make sure we understood which book and pages went with which, and private sewer easement for benefiting Lot 2R and over Lot 1R was added to the plan. That's also shown on the Warwick Road subdivision plan, but it all has to do with, once again, what you mentioned before, is zoning compliance, because Lot 2R is not currently connected to the sewer. And once you make it, the lots, the square footage that it is, it would become non-conforming under our bylaws. So this easement is shown, and there's actually two notes added precluding the conveyance of lots A and B, and actually indicating that a sewer easement will be recorded with this plan. Other than that, the zoning circle's there, the frontages are good, everything's good.
Alright. I'm gonna quiz you on 2R again. That's not under sewer, right?
That's not on the sewer.
That's on the sewer, so it has to be 80,000, correct?
That's why the notes on here, that you just talked about.
Okay, where are the notes? Just wanna make sure.
It's 3 and 4.
Right side.
Just above the title, Mr. Chair, notes 3 and 4 were added.
Alright, so it's gonna be brought to there. Now, once again, when does it ever get hooked up? So once again, that's why I don't like the way the state, it has nothing to do with us, but just the way it is, but. Anyway, alright, does everybody understand what's happening? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
So I see that there are different owners than the applicant, so I'm just Wondering if you have an updated purchase and sale?
I have letters of authorization that are in the package,
Okay,
both owners to file.
okay. I saw one that was signed July 2021.
Valid.
It seems like a long time ago.
Excuse me?
It seems like a long time ago to,
Authorization.
At least as far as we're concerned, they're still the record owners.
no. Okay, there's no.
Yeah, engineer, surveyor, not lawyer. So, I'm not gonna speak to the letter, but, you know, I checked all this to see that the two owners that Mr. Petrosi has the agreement with are still listed as the record owners, at least with the town.
Okay. And, okay. So what happens if they don't follow through with it?
They still own the property.
Yeah, what happens to the A and R?
Excuse me, what happens to what?
What happens to the A and R? Like, what happens to
Well,
the
if
record?
you don't purchase the property, they still own it, so it goes back to its former
Yes.
self. They own
Okay.
it.
The first step would be recording.
Yeah, okay. So can Wall Street record the A and R before executing the purchase and sale? Or no?
So, everything is contingent upon the subdivision being approved. If
Yeah.
the subdivision's not approved, then the A&R plan would not get recorded.
Okay,
And the people who own the property now would still own the property, so they just, it's up to them whether or not they wanted to split it off and run sewer at that point, but.
okay.
The A&R's a funny animal. He could come in every 2 weeks with one,
Yeah.
moving these lines around.
Okay, all right, so that's fine then, I don't have any other questions.
Make a motion to endorse.
Second?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained.
Still got Gave it back to you.
Did you lose it?
I don't know. Thank you.
I'll just leave it
I just didn't know if you read the. Need a pen? Give you a pen. Okay.
Oh, usually I write.
Yeah, but you didn't, that's why you didn't, so it's only you didn't. I'm not worried. I have others. It's probably dried up and it won't work. Thank you, I got mine there. Very honest word. Bless you.
Did you lock it from last night?
I know, I was thinking that.
By the eraser, they gave me the ball clock?
Trying to put it back in the same spot.
Huh? Did you, Rob? All right. The hour being after 7:06. We have a continued subdivision hearing for Warwick Road. And back at it, so what I will do is read any of the updated comments we have, okay? From Police Department, Officer Luke Powlon, February 3rd. We reviewed these plans and do not see any impact on public safety and quality of life, so they have no safety concerns. Let's see, Board of Health, meeting February 7th, they reiterate their comments of October 18th meeting, which stated that the board approves the plan, however, the board is not in favor of new construction within a 100-foot buffer zone. If the plan is approved, they urge to adopt the best standard practice for mosquito mitigation, and work with Norfolk County mosquitoes. They also recommend that the sidewalk extends through the subdivision. Board of Water and Sewer Commission, from the Commissioner, John Hassenegger, Chair. Board of Water and Sewer discussed, and board recommends connecting the water between the two streets in question. You got an answer for which two streets? What two streets?
Right, what two streets?
You asking me?
Yeah,
This is from Hassenegger.
I don't know
It's
whether,
the professor.
So, that's from the Sewer Water Commission?
Yeah. What? I thought you guys knew that. I was being facetious. He said, what two, between the two streets, that's all it says in question.
I don't know whether, 'cause I can,
I can make one Washington and one North. Would you like that?
I mean,
I think, maybe he's thinking about Summer Street.
Summer's coming up through Summer Street?
I don't know. Cal, you got any? We
As
can
you
pick
know,
up-
there's nothing, you know, we can do dead-end
Just came
water
in this
mains.
Oh, okay. The two streets in question.
Probably referring to Summer and,
I'm thinking Summer Street, he's probably referring
they're
to.
not gonna do that, so.
You're clairvoyant, you should be at Foxwoods, not here.
Yeah, two streets, the only two streets are Summer and, you know, we show Summer and Warwick, he's probably talking, looping through the two.
As a judge would say, can you attest to what streets? No.
No,
I guess we'll have to, you guys might have to find out on that one.
we'll go visit them.
That was a bizarre, let's see, what else do we have? Cows, and let me see if I got anything else. Fire chief. All right. Before a waiver is granted on, they request a CMR 527 compliant swept path. Done that yet?
No, we'll provide them that, though.
Is that something that just come up?
Huh?
Rob, how come we don't do that? We just went
I-
through this with Walsh,
I know.
unless you get extra.
No, I'm gonna do it for him, I just haven't done any revisions since the last time.
Okay. That's not done, and a waiver for 20-foot roadway, want parking restrictions, and he's gonna work with you on the hydrant. Okay. And, let's see. Board of Health, this is an old one. Oh, we just got it in January. Oh, that's even. All right, I'll read what it says. We just got it. It said Board of Health at the January 10th meeting voted unanimously that they have no concerns and is pleased to see the modifications of the plan. But the other one was at their February 7th, so either way, they said okay.
Board of Health?
Yep. Oh, okay, wait a minute, that goes back, that's 2022, they said. All right, so, never mind. Oh, they sent it to us a month ago. So, all right. I think this is Kyle's January 4th. You have an updated one, Kyle, correct?
February 2nd, Mr. Chair.
All right, and Kyle had one back on December, February 2nd, so, and that's the only last comment I have that has come in. Oh, wait a minute. January 30th, from Landis. There's a letter from DEP upholding decision that the Warwick Extension NOI was submitted. Conservation is incomplete because it did not include a letter from the town to work within the right of way. and they haven't received it as of today's date, which was actually January 30th. Any update on that?
So, what's the update on that? How do you want to explain that one?
Well, we're in a adjudicatory process.
All right, so you don't get that then, okay.
We don't have conservation approval, correct?
All right. Approval or whether notice of intent or whatever, correct?
Well, there's been a notice of intent filed.
Okay. All right, with that.
Where that stands is,
With that being, that's all the comments, so, all right, let's. Go ahead, Rob.
okay, for the record, Rob Truax, GLM Engineering Consultants. So this is a definitive subdivision for a two-lot subdivision off Warwick Road. We're proposing a extension of Warwick Road. Right now, Warwick Road's a public way up to the property line. As you can see here, it comes right up. This is the boundary of the property. The road's actually paved to about here, probably about 30, 40 feet shy of the actual property boundary. And the utilities, some of them stop back here. The sewer actually comes through the site to provide sewer to Summer Street. There's an existing sewer line that extends from Wall Street Warwick intersection up into the project. Comes through an easement and goes up into Summer Street and goes over across into Comstock Way, which was done some years ago. And the town has the easement for that sewer. They've taken that when they took the road for Comstock. So the proposal is to go in, do a small cul-de-sac, 2 lots, 2 new houses. The total area being utilized is about 4.7 acres. There's a pretty large area of wetlands to the north of the site, going down towards, I guess that's Stony Brook area. That's primarily a wetland down there. We've done soil testing out there for the drainage system. The soils are, they're very poorly drained soils on the site, as you can imagine, with the wetlands there. Under a rating that we look at from an A to a D rating, these soils are classified as a C/D. So they're not very good at percolating water back into the ground. They're very poor soils in that sense. So we are doing a drainage basin down the back here. We have an upland area down along the property line. We're gonna take the runoff from the cul-de-sac area, from the driveways that discharge to the cul-de-sac, and we're gonna pipe that down along the property line into the drainage basin to mitigate the flow. The houses will do some on-site recharge with whatever we can provide in those areas. We are looking for this to be a private road. We are looking for several waivers. They're listed on the cover sheet of the plan. The biggest one probably being the width of the pavement and the road being private. So we're looking to bring the road to 20 feet of pavement, private way, and reduce the size of the cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac is reduced, however, we have looked at the turning radius, and we can turn a fire truck around within the cul-de-sac. So obviously the fire chief, deputy chief would not allow, or actually not allow, I wouldn't say that, but he wouldn't promote something that he couldn't get his fire trucks, fire apparatus down the end of the street and turn around. So we do have, like I said, we have town sewer. We're gonna extend the water line. The water line ends down by Warwick. There's a hydrant right there. We're gonna bring that up into the cul-de-sac, dead end it, put a hydrant at the end of the cul-de-sac. We're not proposing any sidewalks. We're actually proposing, there is a piece of sidewalk on Warwick Road that just in this area that goes to here, to there. There's no sidewalk where it extends to on Wall Street. So we would be proposing to remove that, so there'd be no sidewalk on that portion of Warwick Road from here to the cul-de-sac. And that's here to remain private. So I have, just to give you some insight of some of the neighbors, I have spoken to this gentleman, Mr. Kelly. I sent my surveyors out there. From the last meeting, we had a conversation with him, and I've sent my surveyors out there to do a topographic survey of his property, so we can see how this roadway and how it's gonna blend with his existing conditions. And he does not wanna have the ability to ever put a future driveway on this new road, so we're gonna get some information on that. We'll include that on the next submission, so you'll see it. We're not gonna show the driveway or anything other than the existing conditions and how that affects his property with a new road. So And we're gonna meet with him and discuss it, he's sitting right here, so we're gonna meet with him, go over it with him, we'll probably meet on site, see what his options are, how he can maybe put a new driveway or whatever, and how that would fit into the project, so we don't cause him any harm down the road. I can go through all the waivers, there's a list of them. And like I said, though, the biggest one is really the pavement width and the no sidewalk, and then the reduced cul-de-sac. The right-of-way is, already existing. The right-of-way of the cul-de-sac is not a waiver item, it's just the pavement that we're waiving.
Can I ask a question?
So, pretty straightforward, other than that.
You got them all in the plan, right?
Yes, they're all listed on the cover sheet.
Okay.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do have, so isn't there like a stream, a little,
Oh, yes.
there's flowing water there?
So there is a
Goes right
stream that comes
across?
right down through here from Summer Street, crosses over Summer, oh, it's up here, comes down through, goes kinda through the property onto the other property, and goes right across Warwick Road right in this area. So
how
we
are
are doing a culvert crossing that's gonna require conservation approval. And we're doing we're doing it under what the stream standards would be for a culvert crossing, so that'll be a box culvert. Open bottom box culvert, so we can build the brook within the box underneath the road.
So it hasn't been addressed yet, that part of it?
Hasn't been approved by conservation yet,
Okay.
correct, that part of it.
And
We
then
don't have an order of conditions.
I don't wanna get off track, but I'm just,
Oh, you
before
do.
we get into it, I guess, so
What?
I don't think you were here, Rob. Mr. Truax presented himself. It was when we were down at the FinCom room. And my hurdle with this, I think, is that, so you have an approved road, a public road, and then all of a sudden you're gonna narrow it and make the same road private, so it's half private, half public. And I really questioned that a lot. And, you said you had to go to selectmen. Have you done that?
No, we have not. Oh,
Excuse me. We, under the regulations of the town, we're required to file for a street opening permit, which we have filed for, and we're awaiting Mr. Baldoff has asked us for some additional information, and Mr. Johnson has as well, so
Okay,
it's in the process.
but isn't that a different issue than this?
Not
The
really.
street opening versus the half private, half public?
Well,
fair question.
yeah, I think when we get a decision from the selectmen, they'll make a decision as to what the standards of construction will be in that section of right-of-way that's still considered public. The town may agree to let us do 20 feet all the way in, or they may want us to do 24 or 26, we don't know yet. We haven't had any ability to have any conversation at this point with town engineer or selectmen.
I agree with what Mr. Petrosi said. And one of the things, if you look at our letter, we've been consistent and said, that's a public way Warwick is, to the point it's constructed and to the point it's not constructed. We will have to maintain and plow that, so we would prefer that the cul-de-sac also be prepared and accepted as a public way, so there are no issues with leaving snow at one end and not going around or plowing on private property or whatever. And I agree with Mr. Petrosi, the construction standard hasn't been determined yet for the construction of the existing part of Warwick. The plan does show it as 20-foot wide without a sidewalk. It's an easier road to build at that width and without the sidewalk.
All right, I wanna ask, street opening. My understanding is you wanna put a driveway in, curb cut, street open. You wanna put a utility in there.
Well, it's,
To build, I'm asking
Oh.
how?
Yeah.
Why is this a street opening? There's no street to open.
It's really the only permit available that specifies work within the public way.
But it's not in a public way if it does, the public way doesn't exist, right?
Still an accepted public way.
Okay, now, I'm just gonna keep spinning this a little, cause this, Brooke just came up last time, is the fact that what's shown here doesn't exist, may never exist, so we shouldn't even be dealing with anything below the color.
Below the what?
Below the colored
culvert,
part.
yeah. Well,
So
from,
Here,
that should just be taken off the plan, correct?
you should only be looking at this?
Yeah,
yeah.
that has nothing to do with us. It's, to me, right now, it's being represented, and that's ready, up and ready to go, and it's not.
We could certainly take that off the plan if that's what you'd prefer. We're trying to
Now,
give a complete picture of what the work that we're proposing.
there's no guarantee that you're gonna be able to let you do that.
Well, there's no guarantee that we're gonna build it the way it's shown on the plan, but
There's
there is,
also no guarantee the selectmen are gonna allow you to do it.
well, I don't wanna get into the legal
Well, I'm gonna get
aspect
into
of
it because I'm not gonna waste my time sitting here
Well-
night after night to do something that you can't build right now. To me, come back when you get your approvals from the selectmen. The other thing is, you're talking about a 20-foot road, 26, we have people reviewing it based upon a plan, and those are gonna be no good.
Well, if the planning board decides that they don't wanna grant the waiver, then that ends the issue. The other thing is, you know, from a standpoint of, I mean, the selectmen are required to grant permission to construct the way. It's just a question of, well, how long it has to go, so.
They are? Is that a statute count? That you can just go and build on a town road?
They can't
No, the select board needs to approve that construction.
But they also have to put their 2 cents in what it's gonna look like, so that'll affect the whole subdivision. So wouldn't it be prudent that most people get that before they present how to get to it?
Fortunately, we've been caught in a catch-22 here because there's a different philosophy of how to make the application and when to make the application. So we're, under the subdivision control law, we're here in front of the planning board for 2 lots.
I understand that. And under
Now-
subdivision control, you don't have access to Warwick the way it is as it stands right here today. So that'd be a
Yes.
reason for denial.
Well, you could view it that way, or you could condition it upon the selectmen or whoever, the road
Okay,
commissioners.
once again, it's, you know, I don't like people coming up wasting my time conditioning something that may never happen. We don't have to do it. Right now, we could say no because you don't have,
Well,
wouldn't it be more prudent to come back when you got it from the selectmen and then it's done all at once?
we can't even get in front of the selectmen
Select board.
because of whatever the philosophy is here in Walpole. We filed our application and we haven't been able to have an audience with the selectmen. So, we prefer the route that we're on. If the planning board decides to deny us, then obviously we sue the planning board or file an appeal and we get everybody involved.
Okay, you know, you're gonna pull your lawyer, I'll pull my lawyer, we'd win this one hands down because you can't prove that you even have access to get over there.
Well, there's, again, I can have a legal opinion drafted, but the selectmen have an obligation to grant permission to construct the
Selectmen
way.
do, but we don't have an obligation based upon the way it is.
If you were to deny if you would deny this for the reason that this wasn't constructed, then once we prove that we can construct it, the plan is automatically approved. So
It's automatically approved, but
if we satisfy the conditions of the denial under the subdivision control law, we're approved. So I'm hoping that we can avoid this type of dialogue because it's not productive, but we prefer the planning board to approve the plan as a 2-lot subdivision with a condition that access be permitted by the selectmen.
Can I just ask, what do you mean by they won't see you?
Well, I've written several correspondence with asking, based on town engineer's suggestion, that it has to go to the selectmen. We've done that, and they haven't they haven't obliged us yet. So if you get into the policies of the town policy, the selectmen delegate the responsibility of a street opening permit or work within a public way to the town engineer, with some sort of provision that, for complicated projects, that the selectmen have the final say. So in this particular case, the town engineer has decided that it needs the selectmen's approval before we proceed. Am I correct in saying that, Carl?
Correct.
So now, once we filed with town engineer, the town engineer tells us we need to go in front of the selectmen. We contact the selectmen. We ask for permission to come in and have a discussion. They tell us, no. So,
But with all
Told you
due-
no, or they
with
just
all-
didn't answer you?
no, they answered.
Oh, they
They
did.
basically said, fulfill all the requirements of a complete street opening permit and then resubmit it. So we did that, and then we were told that the bond that we submitted wasn't a sufficient amount, so we have to get a new bond for, instead of 5,000, up to 10,000. And so that's what's in the process right now. So, but to me, not allowing us to have a conversation with the selectmen to, is.
The select
kind of-
board.
Select board is,
But
kind of-
part of it might be sort of like what we're saying, is you put the cart before the horse. When you come in and you don't have everything in a situation where we can move forward, it makes it difficult, and I don't know that is their problem. But I'm just saying, so you came before us November 3rd, and you were the one that said you had to go to selectmen.
no, the chairman suggested that the selectmen had jurisdiction over the public way,
To
and
go
I
to
said
town
we would go
administrator
there.
and selectmen.
So, following that meeting in November, if you wanna go back to November, I emailed, Rick Mattson, and I emailed town engineer, and I asked what the process was to, get this process for the public way construction, underway. We decided to file for a street opening permit, which we did on November 27th. And we've since then been bounced back and forth between town engineer and the selectmen, and have gotten no progress from either department. So, you know, if the planning board now is gonna bounce us back, that would not really be a fair way to treat this situation. The second part of this is that street opening permits are not usually issued until April 1st. So when we filed in November, December, January, that time frame, they weren't able to theoretically issue a street opening permit. So now we're getting into that time of the year where a street opening permit should be issued. Again, I've never had this happen in any other community that we've worked in.
You also said on November 3rd you were gonna bring a non-wavered plan. Do you have the non-wavered plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the
Okay.
package, yes.
So Carl, are you looking for us to do the next thing before, or you've made your assessment and your recommendations?
At least a couple of times and a few letters.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure what other recommendations you're looking for.
Are you looking for the select board to do something first before we consider this project, or?
It's certainly a horse and a cart issue here, and I'm not sure I'm the arbiter of that. I have worked with Mr. Petrosi. He submitted information. We let him know. And this is in conjunction with the town administrator, acting for the select board. There was information resubmitted, and right now, if I recall correctly, and Mr. Petrosi mentioned this, that there's the incorrect amount was filed for the bond, and I'm not sure we have a valid insurance certificate, and those are part of the components of the street opening permit. I find it all unusual because the street opening is a construction-ready permit. It's not a leading permit, all right? It's the last one that we should give. Instead, everything's reviewed, everything's approved, and when you're gonna go in the ground, we would issue that permit. It's not one we issue in advance. They can be issued with conditions, but this is an unusual situation, I agree.
It's not just a regular street opening.
It isn't, and actually, if you look at the regulations, we have section 400, I think. The street opening permit is really a street excavation permit. It's geared for installing utilities in public ways. If you read through that and read between the lines, that's what it's meant for.
Yeah, but what we have here, let me say, this is 10,000 max.
No, not 10,000 max, 10,000 min.
Minimum.
Okay, so right off the bat, how do you issue, you just said it, Kyle, how do you issue a street opening permit without final design and being able to calculate the bond costs?
I agree, I can't.
You can't do that, so they can't get a street open permit till they post a bond, they can't get the street open permit until it's finally designed and someone gives it the okay, correct?
That's correct.
So-
But
So,
I,
and the other thing that town engineer is saying is that it's usually issued after or when the project is ready to start construction. So that would mean get this process out of the way, get the Conservation Commission out of the way, and then go to the selectmen for the final approval. It's our risk that we're spending this money in anticipation of approval from the selectmen.
And Kyle, has a design been submitted on what they wanna do in Warwick?
Yes,
Complete, 100%?
no.
Then it'll be like coming to us without a complete, you're not gonna say anything, right?
Well, I say this because, you know, it doesn't have a conservation approval.
Well, that's a whole nother.
We have not fully reviewed it, all right, so, you know, but these things are all interrelated. And there is not complete information with regards to the construction in the public way. There's detail missing for the culvert crossing and some other things. But I guess you need to, you know, the context that I put this in my experience here in this town is, when planning board is required other projects to have work in public ways, the issues have gone from your hands. It's gone out to the engineering department, DPW administration. The concepts are reviewed. It's brought forth to the selectmen. The concept is approved. And then when it's ready to go and the construction plans are ready to go, we make a recommendation for approval of the plans showing work in the public way with a bond held by the select board. And it's not a $10,000 bond. It's gonna be a lot more than that.
Okay, so right now, you couldn't even, so we don't even have anything. I just wanna get it straight, so I understand it. Is right now, there is nothing in front of the selectmen, they rolled out the plans, and here's what we wanna do from Wall Street up to the line.
Well, I did submit a complete package with a complete set of plans to both town engineer and the select board. So they have everything. We're looking for someone to review it, as town engineer would say. He hasn't reviewed it in totality because he hasn't been asked to do it by the selectmen. Am I correct in saying that?
Essentially, that's correct, but
So if the selectmen were to say,
All right.
town engineer, review this plan to let us know what your advice would be as far as the construction of this right-of-way, then he would do that and have recommendations, and then we'd have a completed process. But we can't get there because we've been bounced back and forth between town
And
engineer.
you also got another board that they can't overrule, it's conservation. And I don't think you can design anything until conservation tells you what they want. They change a box culvert, they want something different, right? You can kinda
But-
guess.
But again, it wouldn't affect the planning board's jurisdiction because,
Our jurisdiction, as far as I'm concerned, I'm only one of 5, is till that's all ready to go, then you're ready to go, but for me to say that it's all approved without having someone else's approval. What I don't like about this is so you can go down to town hall saying the planning board gave me the approval,
Well,
so you should give it to me, selectmen.
the selectmen, I don't wanna get into the.
Select board.
The selectmen are obligated to allow a public way to be constructed for access. They're obligated. They can't refuse you. Now, they may want certain things done that are not agreeable or more higher standard than typical construction standards, but it's pretty much laid out in the rules and regulations that the town has, the select board has for the section 400 in terms of what is required for the work in a public way, whether it's the street opening permit or whether it's the construction of I mean, theoretically, the town is responsible for constructing this roadway all the way to the property line. If you read the statute and so on and so forth, you'd see that the town is responsible for that work. We're doing, I think, the town a favor by constructing it at our expense. So, the question then would be,
Okay, the one entity that can't weigh in until this is all 100% done would be fire. 'Cause he has no idea what Warwick's gonna look like. He knows what it is on our side, but wouldn't know what's gonna be on that side.
the worst case can happen is we construct it to the town standards, that's right there. Whatever that width of Warwick Road is up to up to where it stops pavement, that's the worst case scenario. Better case scenario for us is that we allow for a reduced pavement and other things, so.
But where I'm going with this is he's reviewed a plan based upon what's in front of him, not what may happen, that's all.
Okay.
It seems like there should be some way that to go forward with this, that we're not in this catch-22. I mean, different boards have the obligation or have the responsibility to approve or disapprove. So if one board goes forward up to their point where they, do their approval or do their review, and allows the next board to do theirs, at least the project can either go forward or not.
You're right. Well, this kind of rests with the town administrator and town engineer and the select board. I mean, it's,
Phil, what you're
Parties-
saying, we should approve something that can't be built.
I'm not saying that you should approve unconditionally. I'm saying you approve conditioned upon certain things happening like you've done in many other cases. So in this particular case, you're gonna condition it upon the select board or the applicant, Wall Street, obtaining permission to construct the right-of-way to access into the property. How we get the access or who we get the approval from doesn't have to be stated, it's just how we get, that it's conditioned upon us getting access into the property.
Mr. Chairman, if you would allow me to ask a question of the applicant? No? Or yes? All right. Mr. Petrosi, you made a statement a little bit ago that there's a statute that requires the town to build out that road. Would you care to tell me what that statute is?
I think it's either chapter 84 or 82. Both of those categories, both of those statutes have to deal with construction of public ways.
That's fairly broad. Would you care to narrow it down? 82 and 84 have a lot of information in
I'll
them.
get that for you. I have it in my notes.
Thank you.
Yes.
You just want them to do your work. I know, it's a big chapter, Carl. All right. All right, I think after Kate's question, we kind of beat this to death for the moment, and Rob, you've done your presentation, and I waited to have Kyle do his, just so you can at least bring us back, because a lot of times when we go on, I get kind of, when you start in, I'd rather hear what.
We haven't gone through, this is a new letter, correct? That's the
Uh,
we haven't
well-
revised it for that.
For the purpose, of clarity, Mr. Chair, I authored a letter on February 2nd, and I could not make that hearing. And I don't know if you took testimony that night on this or read the letter into the record or not.
We didn't do
No
anything.
testimony?
No.
Okay, so this is the February 2nd is the latest letter, and it's an update, I think, of a January 4th letter, and before that, whatever date it was a while before that. And in between, some of the issues were addressed on the plan, but there are still some left. The first couple of items in the letter, I think, were addressed tonight by the Form A plan that was before us earlier.
Oh, that's it?
Oh.
You had a bunch
Want
of
the
other
rest
ones.
of it?
I think he wants you to go through them all.
Are you're
Okay.
doing the February 2nd letter now?
Yeah, the February 2nd letter, so the first couple of comments were, under general, were relating to the fact that it might be a 4-lot subdivision, and now with the Form A plan, it is not a 4-lot subdivision.
Yeah, just like you usually do, Kyle.
Yeah,
highlights.
paraphrase, exactly. In that, I've also indicated what I did earlier and said that we would like the proposed new part of the road to be public so that there are not issues with snow plowing, et cetera. We indicate also in there that the plan needs to go before the Board of Selectmen. That's been discussed at length. Number 3, grading easement, request the width. Rob, that whole limit of the plan view and profile, we should probably just sit down with the plan so that's understood. That's a couple of comments, and it's very minor, but we can straighten that out.
Yep.
In number 22, we've indicated the kind of things that we need for the box culvert. We're interested in that in concurrence with the Conservation Commission's regulations, but I've tried to outline the kind of information we need on that to approximately give us an idea on what's going on. We realize that actual construction drawings will govern the construction
You'll
of
get
it.
shop drawings when they
But
do
we
that.
need some information before that to make sure that everything is gonna work there. And we're noted that guardrail is on there. The electric telephone cable should be going through the culvert detail. And that we want a sleeve, the culvert will actually go over the water main, and the water main needs to be insulated, so that it doesn't freeze in the bottom of the culvert. We've indicated that some of the features shown on the regular plan should be shown on the no waiver plan, but we also indicated that the no waiver plan seems to conform, so it's a valid no waiver plan. He can prove that he could build this as a matter of right all the other issues being excluded. And then we have some information, some review of the stormwater report. Now, once again, this is, we're doing the stormwater here under the planning board because right now the conservation is in a different, it's in whatever position it's in, but it's not an open hearing with the conservation. So,
Correct.
you know, we're trying to get some infiltration out of that basin, and Mr. Truax explained these soils are very, very little, small rate of infiltration, but your rules and regulations actually require it. So there are some comments on the stormwater report, items 28 to 34 deal with all that. And that's it.
Okay. There was one, I would say showstopper there, Kyle. When I threw Don,
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
we have one showstopper that's already been talked about, DPW.
Correct.
Gonna have to
So,
be-
let's
It has
ask
to be
the
full.
let's ask this question to the board. It appears, you know, the DPW would like the road to be public for the cul-de-sac, for plowing purposes, et cetera. So, I mean, at this point, you know, talking to Mr. Petrosi, it may be best to just revise this plan and not ask for the waiver of the roadway width and things like that, and just make it a public road.
That's,
Probably, I think that's where we're headed.
well, that's,
So,
yeah, that's what
that's
the
the question.
DPW said. Well, you got one other option. You wanna go with this one?
What's that one?
You love this one. Ask the selectmen if you can make Warwick Road private to Wall Street. Then you don't need the whole full build-out.
If they would return our phone calls,
We'd
So I
probably
threw
ask
that
him.
one out.
But I mean, I think at this point, you know, Carl would like it to be public because, you know, it's gonna create an issue, like he says, to plow halfway down, stop, whatever. So I think maybe we just, you know, after talking amongst ourselves, we just come back with get rid of the waiver plan, the private way thing, and just make it a public road.
I think,
Do the pavement width that's required. We'll look at the sidewalk, whether maybe we'll ask for the waiver on the sidewalk, maybe we won't take a look at it. I mean, it doesn't go anywhere, is the problem. It goes from there to there, and
You
that's
need-
the end of it.
yeah, but you're gonna have to resubmit to Board of Health, and they love sidewalks.
Yeah, but,
I
and
love
then, you know, and
sidewalks,
obviously, we're gonna end up in front of the Conservation Commission for some of this, some of the culvert, and we can iron that out with Carl as well.
Okay, so based upon that, you have to redo it anyway, even if you're in front of selectmen, you would be doing it if you ever get there, right?
Yeah, if it's not gonna be private, it doesn't seem like it's gonna become a
It all comes
20-foot
out
road.
plow.
So, Mr. Chair, if you will, the whole concept of, and you mentioned it, making the way a private way, and that requires action of the select board and town meeting to discontinue/abandon, whichever term, Chapter 82 is confused about that. Anyway, but there are issues there too, and I see Mr. Kelly, you might, after we close out our comments, ask him, he's concerned about access from the piece of the public way. He's got about it's about halfway down there that it's paved, and he has frontage along it, and there's another neighbor on the other side. So you gotta be cautious about actually what happens, because a municipality, if they go and discontinue something like that, may be subject to damages as well. So that's why I think we lean and said, you know, the public way is the option, whether there's some flexibility in the construction standards. And as it's shown on the plans now, if it's built, it will affect the access to Mr. Kelly's lot on the Warwick Road side, because the new road will be above it. All right.
I did that facetiously. It's like, how many bullets do you want when I shoot you? 3 or 4? And you know, this is never gonna happen.
Excellent
but I try to be
analogy,
I
excellent
try to help
analogy, Mr.
applicants,
Chair.
yeah, give them other ways to go at it, knowing that it has that much chance of happening, so. All right, so,
Okay.
with all that being said, ain't a whole lot left to do, right?
Correct.
Still
So,
need to get approval from Concom.
yeah,
right?
yeah, see, he's got Concom, and,
We're gonna revise the plan. Get back and
yeah, 'cause that's gonna change their whole drainage
meet
and
with Carl a
stuff.
couple times probably between now and then.
Okay, Kate, what's our, dead date, when he's
How
extension?
far out do you wanna go? I mean,
Oh, when do you need, when,
Yeah.
April 6th is empty, so we could go to April 20th.
April 20th?
What?
Continued hearing.
Sure, why not? We keep going.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
May
Yeah, I
4th?
don't want, yeah, I was at Florida and I get the plan finished. It's not that far away, Rob.
You're just jealous, I didn't invite you. Carl got the invite. You didn't get an invite.
Not April
Would've went for
6th?
long walks on the beach, I think.
Is that too busy?
See-
April
So-
6th?
Need an extension?
Yeah, but let's be realistic. When can you get it all up and running? It's not we're here. No, I'm not saying that,
No, no,
Lou.
we gotta
When
go.
he changes it to the full.
So where would you like us to be at when we come back? Would you like us to have already got conservation approval?
No,
We're coming back with an as-of-right.
All right, so we'll come back on the 20th. We'll revise the plan, get it submitted, resubmit it.
you can make it by April 20th?
Yeah, it's only, just now like 2 months.
Month and
I'm
a
only
half.
going to Florida once between now and then.
I know, but you guys all seem to be in here at 3:59 on the 14th day. So you can make it by the 20th?
Yes.
Okay. So extension through,
7:10 is the clock tower, so 7:15.
You're right
Yeah.
on extension.
Yeah, and an extension.
yeah, we were still open.
We're-
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to give Mr. Kelly, if
Yeah,
you
we're
would,
still
through you.
open. Yeah,
Absolutely.
up to the,
Please state your name and address.
Thank you. My name's Steve Kelly. I live at 7 Wall Street. So my property is on the corner of Warwick and Wall. And I have approximately 185 feet along Warwick that, I'm no engineer. I wasn't aware. The elevation of the road was gonna change pretty drastically, going from basically .0, maybe up to around 4 feet or more. So that side of my property, any access, future access, for instance, I may have to put a driveway over there because my son and his wife and my grandson possibly gonna be moving in with us. And I'll have to do something for parking, so I would either need, there was 2 things I was thinking of possibly doing. Continuing the driveway where it comes off a wall over to Warwick, or just making a smaller driveway off of Warwick. But with this elevation change, if there was a wall to go there, I'd be shut out, be a problem for me.
shouldn't that be addressed in the whole road issue?
But I've talked to Lou about it, and
It-
they did send some surveyors out.
This isn't, okay, because this is on your side, not our side, doesn't necessarily affect us, but my opinion is they're gonna allow that to happen through the selectmen. They shouldn't disturb anything that's gonna affect your property.
Yeah, right, I don't wanna be shut out
Yeah,
without possibly being able to do anything over there
so
in the
that
future.
should be taken into account. To me, if you're flat now and you get out there and you wanna put a driveway in, to me, you should be able to do that after it's constructed.
Right, again, because I'm not an engineer, I thought the road was just gonna go straight through with a little bridge, but
What's, okay,
So, Mr. Chair, the proof plan that's in there, the matter of right plan shows a wall all along that side because the road is elevated, and if you build a full width road, grass strip, sidewalk, that elevation is gonna carry all the way out to the edge of the right-of-way. Regardless of that, even a reduced standard road would have more room to grade within the right-of-way, but it still will be above where it is now, and it'll affect the access to that side. If Mr. Kelly came in for a curb cut permit and a street opening permit to connect, to make a driveway over there right now, it would be very easy, and we would issue it. At least it certainly would on the constructed part.
so you could do that now to reserve your rights, as Kyle just said. Ask for a curb cut to put your driveway there.
as part of the project,
No, as now, and then they'd have to work around it after. You wouldn't be, it wouldn't cost you anything, they just have to accommodate the driveway.
okay. So would I talk to you about that, Carl, or? All right. I'll give you a call this week. Thank you.
Tomorrow. It's time off in this week, today's Friday, tomorrow's Friday.
So, just so you know, Mr. Chairman, we've spoken to Mr. Kelly, and we've had the surveyors out there to determine what the as-is condition it there, and we're gonna regrade onto his property with Mr. Kelly's permission to make it so that there's no wall required.
Well, that would be part of your submission to the selectmen.
Well, that would be part of, yeah, a submission to the selectmen, maybe. If we ever, I'm not,
But the point is, he should do it now, reserve his right, and then,
no, we're gonna take care of it.
yeah. Okay. Anyone else in the audience have any questions, comments? Rob, you all set? Yeah. All right, I know.
Extension.
I should charge $1,000 an extension, because we get rich off of this one. So up through
Right. May 30th?
May 30th, good, yeah. You wanna do May 31st?
We don't wanna start construction until it's.
May 30th.
May 30th, okay. Make a motion to allow the applicant extension time through May 30th, 2023.
Second?
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so,
Can I ask
yeah, go
just
ahead.
one question?
Thanks, Rob.
So if you come back with plans to propose, like a town-owned road, you will give us the municipal impact, that you had requested a waiver of that. You requested a municipal systems impact analysis.
We'll have to look at that and see what's involved. I'll
Okay.
look at it.
Okay, because, the culvert and sewer and.
Culvert's still there, it's really not changing much.
Yeah, it's just, I would like to see it.
How many of the waivers go away?
I don't know yet, I'll have to look at it in detail, I'm not sure.
I'll talk to Board of Health before you just put your pen to paper, but you will end up with streetlights and you will end up with a sidewalk. 'Cause typically, we may waive them on private, but not on public.
Correct. Understandable.
Okay. All right, so you're all set, we got an extension. Kate is all set for April 20th at 7:15?
Yep.
All right, this meeting will be continued April 20th at 7:15 PM.
Thank you. Thank you.
Look at their easels, how big they are.
No.
Bob doesn't have easels for a big job. Want me to take
Yeah.
the floor, warm up?
This is
No, I did that.
Carl.
yeah, that's a subdivision. Which is,
I ate one, is it?
no, I want 3 copies back, please.
Because we only signed the
Feeling
Mylar.
all right?
This is on the bottom is the industrial.
Sick on it. Oh, that's it? I thought you were sick before.
That was your comments from Laura Cabral when she asked about the policy. Other than that, there's
They did.
nothing there. No, you told them they didn't.
Oh, because, oh.
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
but
no,
this is the 2 new folders.
I've had a meeting with the second, so it's
This is subdivision, that's special
in
permit.
5 days. Sit down, I'm gonna stay home.
Industrial sub.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I came back the following Monday.
Right now, they count this as 500.
This one is easy. And
Can you see it on the camera? Okay. Hey, Rob, at least you have color.
I charge extra for the color.
Mr. Romanowitz, he didn't get his pen out?
Okay.
All right. We now are after 7:10. We have industrial subdivision, Bristol Brothers, and you know it's all related to this, so we'll take that up. And
Yes, please, we asked to continue that if we could to, we were thinking 6 months, which would bring it to the beginning of September. Everyone was noticed for that, as were for the other two matters that are on this evening as well.
okay, so we open the continued hearing in Bristol Brothers Industrial Subdivision, and they've asked to continue this till the end of September?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to allow the applicant extension time up through September 30th, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
I,
Aye, opposed, abstain. All right, with that being said, we have two public hearings, both, one at 7:11.
Excuse me, Jack?
What?
Are you continuing this to September 21st?
Oh,
What are you doing
yeah,
with
we
it?
should do, yeah, whatever the date is, yep, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Continues to September 21st at 7:05.
7:05. Okay.
Is Lou in front of him?
I'm sorry? No, he's not.
Good.
Well, maybe.
Right, maybe.
We'll see.
All right, now, with that being said, we have a new
What time is it?
hearing for
7:05.
site plan modification 2301 at 7:11. And we also have a Bristol Brothers special permit 2302 for age-qualified village, because they both deal with the same thing. We all typically run them together to avoid going back and forth. It all is much simple. You can ask questions or get explained, whether it be for the special permit or whether just for the site plan. So with that being said, I'll read, the board will have a public hearing in main room at March 2nd, 7:10 for case number 2301, Bryn Mawr Ave, and there's a bunch of zoning. If I read it, we'll be here too long, but it starts with map 32, parcel 85, all the way down to map 40, parcel 6, and it's for site, Bristol Brothers site plan, latest revision of January 16, 2023. And the applicant is seeking modification of case number 1908 pursuant to section 13.15 of the zoning bylaw in conjunction with modification of a previously approved age-qualified village, case number 1909. With that being said, we're all set with that, and we'll hold a public hearing for special permit application on case 2302, property located in Renmark and West Street, shown assessors map 32, parcel 85, all the way down to assessors map 40, parcel 6. Proposed age-qualified village for Bristol Development, and the applicant is requesting modification previously approved age-qualified 10, Village 10 special permit case 1909 pursuant to section 10C of the zone bylaw, pursuant to section 12.3.c of the zoning bylaw, as the project will render more than 15% impervious. Okay, so with that being said, and just for edification, I think what you had here is you just rearrange things, correct? Same number of units?
Yes.
So what we have is the age-qualified permit, which was for, this was the larger one, and then we had to do the site plan, and in reality, it's more, a special permit shouldn't change, because we already did it, because it's on one, but you just changed the configuration of it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. With that being said, just so everybody understands the process, we'll let the applicant explain what they're doing. After that, I'll read any of the comments given to us, and after that, I'll let the board open up, and at the end, any of the audience, public have any questions or comments, they can ask them at that time, but we will allow that to happen at the end. So with that being said,
Mr. Chairman, may I just ask a question? Do you have another copy of the small plan that we could look at?
no, I don't.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask one clarifying question? So this is coming in as, like AQB 10 acre, not a 15 acre. So the 10 acre, it doesn't allow for limited manufacturing unless I'm missing something?
Excuse me?
The 10 acre doesn't allow for limited manufacturing.
Do you recall? So first,
Talking about the zoning, that's
The zoning.
in place now before we got this approved.
oh, the prior,
Talking
right.
about the
Yeah, I just
limited
want to clarify that for
manufacturing.
my own edification.
Yeah,
So-
they've made the changes, so originally back before, we wound up with a zoning freeze, which led to getting the approval that you see on this side, on the left side. So what we've done is we've continued, so this is locked in, this is recorded, this is the major modification of the approved plan. At the same time, we've kept along the definitive subdivision for the industrial subdivision, which has been continued basically to allow us space within which to go in and perfect the revisions. As the chairman had mentioned, it's limited to interior reconfiguration that we went through. And just super quick, I'm Jeff Taccio, so I represent Bristol Brothers Development Corp. Jim Bristol is here in the blue. Mark Romanowitz.
You go way back.
Mark Romanowitz is hiding behind the boards as well. He's our designer. Gabe Crocker from Crocker Design is with me here.
And we might want to come back to it. The reason I bring this up is because
Yeah.
section 10C for a 10 AQV, 10 acre, it has to be either on, general residence B, or, I just lost the place here,
For
but,
general
or
residence.
general residence, but it can't be limited manufacturing. It
Right.
has to be a
So
50
so this was all resolved,
before.
yeah,
Okay, I might
about
have
3
forgot
years ago.
about it, so I just
No,
want to
you're right on, and
Yeah.
there were a lot of questions that we had answered, questions from the board, very complete, asking difference between the AQV 15, AQV 10. So we did the homework, you folks asked the questions, asked to follow up, and then that resulted in our coming in for the vote for the approved AQV and also with the site plan for that. So with that, if you want, we can, in the interim period, we can find those again and resubmit those. I think those would be helpful, get you up to speed. I wasn't prepared this evening to go back through that. Just, so where we are now, you'll remember that I was in, so it was all of you, same board, in the fall. And what we had done is we'd said we were going to resolve, meeting with the building commissioner, some of the questions with respect to the retention of the house that was out front, et cetera, and that we needed additional time to go through and basically be in a position where we could have a refiling. Just super recap, and I don't want to steal, I'm going to ask Gabe to go through the differences, but we identified, and Gabe will go through just design improvements on the approved layout that make it a better project, also work in with some of the overall site grading that's occurred there. And he can run through some of those issues. What we've got, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask if he can go through, explain that additionally, just from also just housekeeping and procedurally. We know that Carl has submitted some comments. The peer review has not occurred yet, so it'll be necessary to go through and go through those processes. So
And
with,
I may listen to the meeting
Yeah, Bill,
from last, I just want to make sure I understood. Pardon me, I'm bringing this up again, but just, it wasn't clear to me, so I would like to understand that at some
yeah,
point.
absolutely.
That's it.
So do you want to watch the meeting, or do you want us to resubmit
If you
something?
want to submit as a separate thing, the notes you have, that would be a help.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Again, sorry for bringing this up again, just wanted to
Nope,
Just-
great.
No, it's good to get on,
just make sure we're on the same page. I mean, I know we approved it, and so,
yeah, and I apologize for just, a lot of time's gone by, so I can only give a
yeah, no,
80%
that's understandable
response.
too, yeah.
So with that, I'll ask Gabe to go through. Will he need the microphone, I believe, to be able to? Yes, okay.
All right, good evening. I'm Gabe Crocker of Crocker Design Group, civil engineer for the project. We've got two plans up from a layout perspective. The plan over there is the as permitted, as prior approved plan, and this is the proposed plan. So I'll talk from this one, but I'll bounce back and forth to be able to point out the differences as we go. But here's West Street, here's Redmar Ave. So if you're pulling in off of West Street, first and foremost, that driveway connection is in the same location as it was previously designed. The sidewalk improvements are as previously designed. None of that has changed from before, so everything outside the development is exactly the same. But as you enter, the first thing that you'll notice on the plan is that we're proposing to keep the existing house at 534 West Street. So on the prior plan, that was being proposed to be raised, demoed, and it was all gonna be stormwater basin out front. So we're proposing to keep the existing house out front. The next thing, as you're driving in, is we're now proposing the clubhouse and mailroom right up front as folks come in. On the prior plan, we would've had to drive in, come back, all the way back to this corner, and we had a combined maintenance building and clubhouse. So this, I think, is a much better configuration to be able to come in, people to get their mail, and then head on to their unit, to their home, as opposed to being tucked in the back. So that's another big update we made. As you reach the first cul-de-sac sand trap circle, one of the main, probably the easiest way to describe it is we essentially flipped it so that on the original plan, there was 7 units lined up facing the residents here. Now those are facing the power line easement, and we only have 3 units now on that side. So we were able to pull the road back, add a little bit of curvature to it, make it look nicer from a community design perspective, and pull a lot of those houses that were directly facing them away toward the other side. We also reduced the number. There was 19 on the cul-de-sac before. We're down to 17, and those other units, obviously one of them would be here with the existing one, and then we've absorbed the other one into the back of the development. So as you continue in, and you cross over this is the Eversource power line easement. One of the things you'll see here is we brought the road up through here, whereas before we were hugging the property line. So by bringing that up, it allowed us to have the homes on either side, and it opens up, the nice wooded, it's a beautiful woods this way. It's a nice wooded view for a lot of those homes, respecting the 50-foot setback as well. In the middle, we were working around the existing quarry hole that was there, but as we really got into the bulk earthwork that's taken place out there, it made a lot more sense as part of this reconfiguration to do a more holistic basin in the middle of that loop. That way all of the homes could back up in that, or backing up to that, as opposed to backing up to each other. We were working around it here, but then we had the cul-de-sac that was popping in there, so there's a lot of people backing up to each other. So it makes a nice, more cohesive loop in the middle of the property. Up on this end, we had 2 homes and the clubhouse maintenance building. We now only have 1 home and just a straight maintenance building. And you'll see the same thing as you come this way. We pulled that road down from where it was near the property line in order to get more unified theme of houses along that side. And then as you go toward the back, we tried to eliminate, we had a series of 3 dead-end cul-de-sacs. And that was a topic of, we worked it out with the fire department and all the geometry with everybody, but we were kind of pinned as we were trying to get all that geometry to work, and I think we all spent quite a bit of time on it. So this opens that up, has just a nice small loop here for the houses to be set back, and then a loop drive on the end. So overall, from a community design perspective, that was my engineered plan, and this is Mark's nice community plan that I think from a layout perspective accomplishes a lot of benefits compared to our original design. Same limit of work, same overall property boundaries. We're at the same impervious area, no more impervious area than we were before. One of the other things that we try to do on the grading and drainage plans, like, for example, this cul-de-sac is a good example. We've lowered this cul-de-sac from the grades that it was at before. On the original design, and you can see the big wall system that was here. The plan probably doesn't do it justice, but that wall, as you get up to the middle of it, was 13 to 15 feet in height. So we had structural engineered walls, that had the guard and rail systems on the top of it. as part of the earthwork. Jim's got tons and tons of the nice purple Walpole stone to work with. So we've tried to soften those edges by eliminating a lot of those walls that were throughout it and replacing it with a riprap, the purple riprap Walpole stone slopes. So I know that was one of Carl's comments that we'll have to work through, because he had questions about it and the engineering on it, and we'll work through that with him and address his comments. But this one in particular, you'll see the wall's completely gone. We were able to lower it, and then with walkout basements, have these houses come out right at the grade that's at the back of them, so they won't have that wall system. So we've done that in multiple places throughout it. But those are the bulk of the updates. We did file with Conservation Commission a notice, the modification of the notice of intent. We had our first hearing with them. They've engaged Beta as their peer reviewer for stormwater. So we believe that'll be kicking off probably in the next week, is my guess. In the meantime, I think we may have updated you on that back in October, but we have completed the design of the off-site water main and sidewalk. We have completed the environmental permitting through the Conservation Commission separately for that. We've worked out the details of the engineering plans for all of that with Carl's office, and we'll be moving on to Water Commission and Selectmen on those items as well.
All set?
All set, yes.
Okay, I'll read what we got. First off from Landis Hershey, Conservation Consultant, Consultation Town Engineer hired Beta to do the stormwater management peer review. And they did the original, and they'll make their plan available when they get it, so. I know you've changed the grades and stuff, but much else changed, or?
The utilities have been updated based on those changes.
But the stormwater, what I'm saying is,
Oh, yeah, so we have provided an updated stormwater report.
but has a lot changed, I'm just my own curiosity. For them to go through, I mean, you're still getting rid of the same amount of water. you
We're
had
still getting
before.
rid of the same amount of water in generally the same places, but in different configurations.
Okay. Okay, from Mobile Fire Department, Paul Barry, Deputy Chief, and make sure it's February 21st. Let's see, first item on next one, he'll work with you guys on hydrant locations. We'll work with you on the key box, which is not part of us. When possible, we wanna see the water mains looped. If they are or not.
Well, this actually, yes, this cleans it up because we got rid of all the dead-end cul-de-sacs.
Okay. Alright, he wants to see putters run designed so we don't have to cross over the center line. You understand that one,
Yep,
right?
I
Okay.
understand.
Have you seen these?
No.
Alright. You guys can get them if you want from them. I don't know when they send them to us all the time. Yeah, you got, all access roads shall be maintained with year-round access. Parking restriction signs shall be installed throughout. He wants a sign noting no street parking permitted near the intersections of Sand Trap and Weather Vane. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the maintenance building and associated equipment shall be compliant with 527 CMR 1. While not required, we recommend that they have all residential fire sprinkler systems, but as you know, that's building code, not necessarily theirs. You guys considering it?
Fire sprinklers for the individual units?
Yeah.
I know, and we had gone through that with them the first time around, but I don't believe we are proposing them.
Well, my only is that a sellable point or not? People don't care anymore?
No.
No, then we're not at that
Jim's
point.
shaking his head no back there.
No, I know, God, but I don't know if it, being that you're gonna get the age qualified, do people like that? But I know from
Yeah.
most houses, they'll go off, just go off and wreck your house.
We're supplying them a mile of 12-inch main to boost the pressure here. That's probably our contribution to it.
The Board of Health is not meeting until March 2nd, and they'd like to reiterate their comments of November 19th, 2019 meeting. And what they said is they are not in favor of construction of wetlands and emphasize the health concerns with mosquitoes and sidewalks constructed on both sides of the street, including the cul-de-sacs. That's what they like. I don't know if that's what we had before.
It's not, Jim and I actually went to multiple hearings with him back then. We did work out all of those items, including the mosquitoes. We've worked with, and I think there's actually, the majority of the special conditions that are part of the current special permit were all to address those items that we had agreed to.
Okay, and from Sewer and Water, John Hastenegger, Chairman. The board's original comments are still valid, and no changes to the plans at this time. I assume that, it'd be nice if they told us when, but I assume it's the last when you get this approved. That would be my guess, okay. All right, now, please, the only other one we have here.
On that, if I could, one thing that we were able to do is obviously update the off-site mitigation exhibits that we had to obviously match what the final configuration was, so that has been updated on our plan.
Okay, now we're down to Carl's. He's got a bunch here, and rather than going through the litany of them is, because I know a lot of these colleges, little ones you guys, point out the ones that kinda feel need to be talked about or us to understand.
So, Mr. Chair, I provided a letter today, and this is not little ones. They're really, it's a kind of a flyover look at the review. I want to make it clear that all the off-site issues, traffic, water supply, all that stuff is settled, so this is strictly a look at the site plans within the perimeter of the site. And we broke it down into general comments with grading. There's a lot of grading on that site. This graphic that Mr. Tachi and Crocker have up there right now doesn't really show the grading. It's a flat plan, but there's a lot of grading. There was a lot of grading on the original proposal. So we broke that down into general grading issues, some profile issues, sewer and drain. And in general, we pointed out that the grading really renders a lot of the usable area in these, quote-unquote, the area around the houses, I can't call them lots, but there's a lot of fairly steep slopes along these things. We've noted that now there's, I don't know if it was on the original one or not, but you got a lot of 1.5 to 1 riprap slopes. They're all over the place on here, and you want to make sure that's an engineered slope that needs some support information to do it. Just for the board's information, anything from 3 to 2 to 1 is pretty standard construction, but steeper than that is it's essentially almost like a wall. So we didn't know, and I expect we're going to have to sit down and have a meeting and go over some of these things, because I wrote my comments blindly, and in essence, they redesigned this blindly without any input from one another. But we've noted that the middle of the site, it would grade out a lot easier if it was lower by about 8 feet. Now, there may be reasons that can't happen that I don't understand, but we pointed it out to try and minimize some of the matches and whatnot. There's quite a few comments here on grading, and said, I don't know how much liberty you have to grade within the Eversource easement. You're grading a lot in it now, but we've suggested that you probably modify that to try and reduce some of the slopes there. That may or may not be possible. As far as the profile goes, we've asked to show the water main. We're not happy with the depths that the drain and the sewer are at. They're up awful high, much higher than the subdivision rules and regs would guide you to do, which is, or DPW standards, and they're more or less the same. So we made some comments. The board really won't see that. That won't have really any, I doubt it will have any effect on that, although we've suggested some alternatives for the route of the sewer. We've also looked at the drainage basins, and in general, they're difficult to access. Excuse me. Anyway, they're difficult to access. And we have noted that on the, what would be the west side of the site, there's 2 basins that sit quite high. One of them in the middle of the site recharges above, well above, there's a big wall on the abutting properties on Renmar Ave. And the recharge is occurring. Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Either kill me or help me.
Sound like he's tearing up on us.
That would be unlikely, Mr. Chair. Anyway, and then we've gone through and looked at the sewer as well. The northerly part of the site relies on evidently injector pumps for a good 25 or so units. And we've suggested that that be combined into a single station so that everybody doesn't auto whole bunch of individual grinders there. And once again, we've made a suggestion on relocating, we don't want a sewer main going through the side slope of one of the basins. And then we've asked them to consider rerouting the sewer, which might actually make it easier. It may not be possible for other reasons we don't understand, but we've suggested it. And, we've got a number of comments. I think I've already glazed over the drainage comments. A lot of comments on access to the detention basins. One of the basins was constructed where we didn't see testing. We really haven't reviewed the drainage yet, but just on a plan view, we've made some comments on that. But I really suggest that Crocker Design and us sit down and go over some of these things before we go forward and decide what's feasible and what's not. So it'll possibly make, so I don't think the layout's gonna change very much, but there could be some technical changes here.
You all set? Okay. All right, you're right there, Josh, how are you, John?
How has the height of the development as it abuts Renmar been changed?
It really hasn't in relation to Renmar. The overall site and elevation of the site, while we've addressed highs and lows and things of that nature, we really haven't made drastic changes to
So,
the overall elevations of the development.
okay. So
I mean, plus or minus feet, not
the existing house is where again?
right here.
Right there, okay. And the plan now is for that to be kept and to be one of the units.
Yes, that's our proposal.
And next to that is the clubhouse?
Correct.
Clubhouse, okay. Is
That has a
that,
small parking area next to it here, and then it also has a gravel pull-off area in front of it.
are there any dedicated parking spots for visitors or anything along the ways, or?
Yes, we've got, probably hard to see from there, but we have visitor spaces all throughout it, separate from the driveways.
Separate from the driveways, okay. That square jut out near the entrance, is that anything, or that just be empty space more or less?
That's empty.
I don't think I have any other questions at this time, then, thank you.
Okay.
So it sounds like you have some tweaking to do, but as far as the looks go, I think it's a nice change. I think it looks more like a community now. And as far as the fire chief's comment about Putter's Way, is that just because the shape of it, when they're turning, the angle's wrong?
What was the comment?
It was,
Somebody with fire trucks.
Oh, he'll want us to make sure we can actually sweep the truck in a way that they're not crossing over the line.
will that change things a lot for you?
And he was talking about here, right? If I remember correctly. It likely will mean we have to widen the radii on the corners. It's usually more swing room that he needs on the outside edge of the pavement.
Yeah, no, I think it looks nice. I like it. I like that you got rid of the dead ends, and I think it's inviting.
Now, the intention is still that Forest Way is basically an emergency access only.
That's it, it's gated emergency access only.
First, I do agree the redesign does make things a lot smoother, much more logical, and removes a lot of cul-de-sacs. But just taking what Carl was saying, like on sheet 3C4, so there is a steep, on all the houses there.
Yep.
You know, there, particularly ones on the lower side of the streets. So there's a steep slope in the backs of them. So would there?
Back in here, for example.
Yeah, so is there access out there, or how, you know,
So, yeah, a lot of them will have access out the back. But then, you know, we have the backyard space, and then you'd have the slopes down. So typically, we would have a treatment on that edge from a safety perspective. Whether it's a
doesn't really
slope
look like
fence or
it's
something
pretty
like that.
steep, that, like Carl was
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
So a lot of earth moving has already taken place, right?
Yes,
Is that-
yeah. Yeah.
So
I'd say, where would you say you are in the bulk earthwork effort? Probably 80% there?
Okay. Has a lot of that gravel been moved off the property then? Or is it just being moved?
A lot of it's being reused, but a good amount of it has come off.
Yeah, do you have
Yep.
any idea how much has gone off? I'm just curious, it's not really in
I
our
don't know
jurisdiction,
off
it
the
was
top
just
of my
more
head.
curiosity, but,
Mostly rock, right?
50,000 maybe? 30, 20,
just curiosity.
20,000 yards
Right.
maybe?
Cubic yards?
It's all rock, right?
Pretty much.
And the basins, do you think, would there be water in them most of the time, or they be dry?
Some of them are designed to, this one, this is designed to hold water and actually have well, it was a condition of approval that it have a fountain in it.
Okay, yeah. You wouldn't put
But
fences?
this one, you know, these are infiltration basins. They're in really good sandy soils. This was designed as an infiltration basin, and so was that one. So this is really the main one that would hold water.
Would you have to put a fence
by
around
design.
that, or it wouldn't be a safety issue?
We put fences around every river and stream in the world.
Yeah,
Okay,
anything from a safety issue we'll be protecting.
I noticed that the number of parking, in the original plan, there were a number of units that only had one car garage. In the new plan, every unit now has
All of
two
them are designed to
two-
have 2 cars.
cars, so the parking,
Everyone,
parking spaces.
they're all 2-car garages now.
That went up to 444.
Yeah. That's right, and that changed the parking count.
Yeah. I mean, we try to discourage having more cars, but, I mean, that's that's always an issue. I do like the fact that you do have impervious pavement on the guest parking lot. That's the same as it was before.
Yes,
I
yep.
think that number went up a little bit, 30, I don't have it right in front of me, but it went from like, might be gone 35 to 38, I forget now, but something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that was Sarah's suggestion at the time, if I remember correctly.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe Phil's, it sounds like Phil, but
Yeah.
sounds like something you would ask for.
Just give me a second here. And then sidewalks. So there are sidewalks on one side, is that, I can't remember what we had
That's
approved.
correct, there's sidewalks on one side.
One side, the whole,
Yep.
the whole project, yeah. And the road width, there's still 22 feet, that
Yep.
hasn't changed.
Didn't change.
So, and so when Carl was suggesting of lowering everything 8 feet, is that a
Well,
practical?
we'll have to look at it. I
Yeah.
appreciate the suggestion, so
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
definitely take a look.
Yeah, I could see the point about the steepness, particularly around a lot of the
There is,
units.
he hit the nail on the head. You know, we're balancing the topography as we go, so.
Yeah.
We'll definitely take a look.
Yeah, and I think the highest grade was just a little more than 5, slope was 5%.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's all I have for now, but I do again want to say, I think the whole design is much more practical, it makes, the flow of people coming in. What you're doing on West Street is good with the, renovating the house and putting the, the club there. That makes a lot of sense.
Great, we appreciate that.
So, but then,
I can't take the credit, it goes to Mark behind me.
but
Yeah, but you're doing his presentation.
But I did have one other question. So and I know we're not doing the industrial subdivision, but there's a cul-de-sac showing on that one from the Mar.
On the,
On the
that's right, so on the definitive subdivision
Subdivision.
plan, that was the proposal. Obviously, that's not what we intend to
okay. So
proceed with.
okay, that's, I
Yep,
just wanted.
that was just
yeah,
part of the
okay,
zoning freeze
okay, just want to make
approach.
sure I understood that. Thank you. Yeah, that's all I have.
All right, Sal?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so I agree. I think the design is nicer. It has a nicer flow. So that's appreciated. I wanted to request, you get like an updated letter from Sewer and Water. I know they said they have no comments, but I think they maybe haven't seen Carl's letter, so I wonder if they can just respond to that.
We can talk to them.
And then, it's been discussed before, but that gate, the fire gate,
Off of Forest?
yeah.
Yep.
So, have you talked with the neighbors? I think previously you all had talked with the neighbors about kind of what they want and the snow removal and abutting this property. If you could just kind of summarize what you understand the
Sure.
butters.
And what we had worked out with the neighbors the last time around, obviously their number one concern was that it wasn't going to be used as any type of primary or secondary access to the development.
Mhm.
So we agreed that that was going to be emergency gated access only. There was a concern expressed by one of the residents, about the challenge, particularly the town plowing in the winter gets to the end or vehicles go up there, there's no way to turn around.
Mhm.
So we did add the gravel turnaround area as part of that on the last round in order to provide that at the end as well.
Okay. And with the regrading of the site, I have to ask, so is there any possible way to add access out to Renmar now?
No, it's definitely still way too steep to do that.
Okay, and so I think Phil had asked about the earth removal. I wrote down, you said approximately 20,000 cubic yards so far. Do you have an estimate on like kind of what the project will need, like as far as earth removal?
Do you see much more going off-site, or you were just kind of working it back and forth? Hard to say.
Depending on
Yeah.
where these elevations end up.
Would you say you're 80% done?
We're about 80% done with the earthwork.
So one thing I
We
noticed.
don't think it's a huge number. We could estimate it, but I don't think it's a big amount.
Okay, if you can
Now,
estimate.
if we start lowering middle sections by 8 feet,
One thing I noticed.
that'll increase the number quite a bit.
Yeah,
One thing, if you don't mind, just.
Yeah, go
one
ahead.
thing I noticed on the slopes for the road, the maps there, you have some really high peaks. I'm assuming that's after you started removing the earth, why those things appeared.
Are you talking about on the roadway profiles?
Roadway, yes.
So one of the things
Yeah, if you noticed.
the profiles don't do justice for is they're exaggerated in vertical scale.
Yeah, no, I even took into consideration that.
Yeah.
But they're very narrow, they're like columnar. So I'm assuming that you'd already taken, that's, is that
With the K
before-
values at the speed.
That's what's there now, not before you started with the earth moving? Those peaks?
Well, it depends, there's two lines on the profiles. One is the
Right, right.
existing grade that has some of those, but then the darker line is the proposed roadway profile.
Right.
So there will still definitely be highs and lows as we're trying to follow the topography.
But I'm assuming that those highs are what, after you've already, this reflects some earth moving that you did up to the point in time when you made the plans.
So these plans are still based on the original existing topography prior to
Oh,
construction.
they are, okay,
Yep.
okay. So it was
Yep.
just those high mounds like,
Yeah.
yeah, from the quarry or whatever,
Yep.
Yeah, I just couldn't help, it just looked like they were
Yeah.
man-made,
And we did that and we kept it that way because
Yeah,
we
yeah.
started doing topography in the middle of where we were and where
Okay.
we are at
Thank
You know,
Yeah,
we're not
Mr.
necessarily
Chair, if you-
comparing back to the
if you will.
pre-existing condition.
Yeah, we took a quick look at the profiles on there, and all the slopes are reasonable. The assumptions that, we've got a luxury here, the design speed is specified, the K values are specified. The vertical geometry of the roads is very solid.
Okay, and I'm sure we talked about this as well, but the access road, north that kind of goes through the easement, that is unpaved?
That is unpaved, that's correct.
And what was the reason you don't want to pave it? Is
Um,
it because it's Edison?
Well, then it creates a couple reasons. One of them, it then creates kind of a desired path to be traveled for things other than emergency access.
Uh-huh,
But it also then creates a need for stormwater, and the easement and Eversource won't let you do it.
okay,
So they try and minimize, this was the one paved crossing they were okay with, but they try and keep the work in their area to a minimum.
okay. But it's not going to be gated per se, so a resident of Unit 7 can use that to go over,
They could use
Whatever,
it, they
to
could
the-
use it to walk over,
so they
but
they
it's
can't
not,
drive over.
they're not supposed to be driving on it, no.
I see. But are they prevented from driving on it, other than maybe a sign?
I was gonna look, I can't remember. There may be a gate on this end, actually. I can look at it. I feel like we had that discussion and we went gate, no gate, we went back and
One
forth.
gate, no gate. one
And I don't remember where we ended up.
card,
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll look at it.
Okay.
If there's a desire for a gate, we'll wait. We'll also speak with Deputy Barry as well. And
Okay.
we didn't have that letter, but our safety consultants will get in touch with fire grids. We knew they were all coming, so.
All these gates, you're gonna need a bunch of keys.
yeah,
You have to have the right key.
So my
for the
bigger,
right pumper.
my bigger question is about the putt-putt area and access to pedestrians. So can you explain, like, how residents from the various, you know, homes, how are they going, how do you propose that they access this putt-putt area?
I think our thought was that they'd be walking from their home over to utilize it.
So, but, I mean, it looks like there's some kind of gate on the west, on the bottom of this plan, right? Yeah,
Yep.
just over to the right of where your pencil, yeah, there's some kind of gate.
Yep, there's a gate here, and then it was open down on this end.
Okay,
And
so,
I think that's why we didn't have the gate down on over here.
right, so just walk me through. A resident over there is gonna take a nice walk, and they're gonna enjoy some of the amenities here. How do they get to this area?
Want to talk about your vision on that, Jim? He's the right guy for that one.
Okay,
Greetings, Jim Bristol from Bristol Brothers Weather Vane. We'll be revising this probably down to like 3 holes,
okay,
and it's just pitch and putt. So someone would walk over, they're not bringing a golf bag, they're bringing just a pitching wedge and a putter.
okay,
And the greens, tees will be an artificial surface to keep maintenance down, and then grassed in between, so. But people would just walk up with the 2 clubs.
okay. Yeah, that's fine. I just, I like that it encourages people to, you know, walk and
Yeah.
to be outside and to do stuff. I just want to know, how are they going to get into this space?
Yep,
Like,
they would,
without going
so they
through
would either
people's
come,
yards, or?
they would
so
either
where-
come through this trail, or we'll make a trail off of Weather Vane Drive within the easement.
There'll be some kind of pedestrian access?
There's a road now that comes through
Uh-huh,
that Eversource uses
okay,
to access the easement, so
Uh-huh.
there's a gravel road that's probably 12 feet wide that they could walk up from either side.
okay. That maybe trucks would be on? So
No,
I'm
they very
focused on
rarely have
having, you know, safe pedestrian movement
Yeah.
throughout the site.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking. You know, I like it, it's nice, but I want to know how do the residents utilize that space? Where do they
Just
come in?
walk up, it's
It's Just walk up, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to just walk out there.
So they have full access
Well-
from
well-
this side and this side.
Yep, and that's all they really need. This will get revised so that it's only 3 holes.
Okay,
We'll make a prettier picture so you understand it better.
okay.
And then in answer, so also just for Sarah, comparing to Weather Vane, Weymouth, for example, just what it's like as far as the number of cars, speeds with pedestrians on sidewalks, could you describe that?
Yeah, it's a very low,
Sidewalks is on my list too.
low traffic generator, and the people tend to walk on the roads.
Yeah,
Regardless of the sidewalks, because there isn't much traffic. If you came up and watched how they live and operate, we have 0 visitor parking spots. It's just the driveways and the garages. So this will be a luxury to have the extra spaces. You really only see any kind of issue on like a Thanksgiving or Christmas gathering that,
yeah,
but you get a lot of these folks, I know the question came up about sprinklers. A lot of these folks spend time in the Florida, or Arizona, or any kind of warm place, a lot of snowbirds, so that they wouldn't want the sprinklers because it's more of a worry that they might freeze and burst and cause issue. So we've done communities without and communities with, and it's a strong preference to not have them.
okay. Okay, then my next question is about the visitor parking. Do I understand it, some of the spaces, a person would back up into a road? Let's say if you look between 74 and 75, there's a couple spots, 89 and 90,
Is that the notch?
34 and 35. I thought in the previous design, it was kind of like, like a parallel parking, they'd kind of pull over. This one looks like they need to pull in and then they would back out into the road?
Yeah, I think it's similar, similar to a driveway. It's designed to be that type of an egress. We'll have a look at that. We may present some of these as to be built if necessary. We've done that on other projects because we found it not to be very necessary with 150 homes in Weymouth, so. But
Okay.
we'll look at that.
And
Okay.
if I may, sir, just some of, we don't mean to be lackadaisical about it, but please do visit. We've done these in other towns, and the questions, the genesis is very much the same. A lot of times, we'll actually meet with agents and board members out there, and they get out there and it just clicks. When we get to the next meeting, and many of the comments are, I understand now that, the age restricted, it's mellower, it's got this interesting, I won't say hyper social, but it's just slower, it's friendly, it's more face-to-face interaction, and things just kind of slow down. You get a vibe, so when we design, we go through, that's always on our minds. The 2-car garages, so you wind up with now another space that can be in front of that. That's usually what we're doing in other places, and that's just hugely popular. So we have the holidays,
Right,
we have other spaces too.
I might be fine with taking some of them out, especially you've increased, the unit parking. I just want to make sure that whatever is there is safe, that's all. The next question is about the sidewalks, and it looks like there are a lot of sidewalks, but there are some areas where they are not. And so I hear you saying that people don't use them. However, I do think they're important. It looks like I saw between like units 5 and 9, 25 and 26, and 84 and 94. I didn't see
So,
sidewalk.
like, areas like this, we made judgment calls where that, it's almost a private drive for 3 or 4 of them.
Uh-huh.
But we have the sidewalk coming all the way down to here. So if they come out of their unit, they've got a sidewalk right here. Now, those were the areas, kind of the only area, like this little bulb we didn't because they could walk out and get on this main sidewalk.
Mm-hmm. And then down, to the right of the plan, looks like on the south side,
Yep, and same thing, we took it.
84 to
We brought it all the
94,
way down to
that
here, but we didn't
whole
bring it all the way that
circle.
way.
Yeah, that whole way doesn't
Yeah.
have,
It comes all the way into here.
right. That's like 10 units, not 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Just a question, there's a detail for a sign, like an entrance sign to the development, and it looks like I see the location, but just, could you help me understand, like, the orientation, like, which way is the sign facing, and,
So that's intended to be an entrance sign,
yeah,
and what we'll try to do is get one of the big pieces of Walpole stone
okay,
and set it so that we can engrave it. and-
Okay.
And then light it with, so it's,
I think right now the detail is the one that you have out in the front of Weathervane between the boulevard,
okay, yeah.
so we can
So
update
it'll
that.
be,
It'll
the
be
intent,
slightly
we can get
different.
something designed and sketched up, but the intent is to try to use the stone from the quarry to create something special.
okay. And it'll be able to be seen from, approaching from either way on West Street?
Yeah, this
That's
is,
the
there's
intent.
actually good visibility here in both directions.
Uh-huh, okay. Okay. And then all these roads throughout here are gonna remain private, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I don't know, Carl, the sign looked like, for a public road sign, street sign? Did you notice that?
I didn't, we
Okay.
have not drilled down into that.
Okay. It may or may not be, but maybe just take a look at it.
No, we're happy to, that was a, and we can revise it however you want. At the time, that was the prior town engineer's request that we use that specific configuration,
Okay,
but there was discussion at the time as to whether it looked like a public sign or a private sign, so
okay,
I think we're open to a nice design on the street signs.
okay.
It was before Carl's time.
I know.
Let's blame Maggie, come on.
Which sign? The one that we had the caps, or then they changed it to the lowercase?
I forget, it was fairly elaborate, I do remember
Oh,
that.
I know, we had the big, you'd think you were in a subdivision.
All right, anyway, just take a look. And then, one of the documents talked about some amenities, and I think they're near the clubhouse. Can you just point out, there's some kind of yard games or something? Where are those?
Oh, and Jim, you can talk about your ideas for this, but this triangle is part of the property?
So it's likely to be a pickleball court, something like that. It's
In
gained
that-
popularity.
In that triangle, so that's not an infiltration basin?
No.
No,